Brookland News Live begins right now. Here's Jackson Mitchell.
It is a good Tuesday to be with you. It's 12:23 p.m. We're coming on the air monitoring a number of different stories this hour. We want to get to all of them. I'll just take you straight to the stories that we are monitoring right now. I'll take this out first to the International Space Station, where we are taking a look live at the Crew 10, their farewell message before they head back to the ground, as well as a press conference in Montana on the bar mass shooting. We are going to listen into that a little later. We also want to take you to a procession ongoing right now for one of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies involved in that East LA explosion. We were on the air a lot that day covering it all. So much happening. We are also awaiting for President Donald Trump to sign executive orders specifically on the 2028 Olympics set to happen in Los Angeles a little later. Lots of stories we are monitoring and will continue to do exactly that. Do want to take you first live out though to this in Montana, where they're updating on that bar mass shooting as the suspect remains at large.
Moments ago, I signed an executive order to support the efforts of local law enforcement. While the state has already been supporting this investigation with staff and aviation assets, this action today will ensure additional financial resources are available as we continue to track down this criminal. In particular, these additional financial resources from the State Emergencies Response Fund will help pay local law enforcement's overtime and to continue the search. At this time, I'd like to invite County Attorney Morgan Smith to share a few words on behalf of the Chief and the Anaconda community. Morgan?
Thanks, Governor. Good afternoon. I'd like to first start out and talk to the families of Daniel, David, Nancy, and Tony. Our thoughts and prayers remain with you. My office will be reaching out to all of the victim families and want you to know that there are services and financial assistance that is available through the Victim Witness Advocate and through the Montana Crime Victim Compensation Fund. Recognizing all that is on your plate right now as you experience this tragedy, if there is assistance that the Victim Advocate can provide or that my office can provide, we would love to do so. To the Anaconda community, if I can speak for both Chief Sather and myself, we understand the desire for more information. This manhunt has involved individuals from 38 local, state, and federal agencies, and coordination of hundreds from all of those agencies has been a very difficult task. They are responding to every call, to every tip, and they're tirelessly searching the area where the suspect is believed to be. I understand the pit in your stomach every time you've heard sirens in our community the last 5 days. I experienced the same. Any call that comes in of a potential sighting of Michael Paul Brown, or a suspicious person in an unexpected place, or a concern that you can't reach a loved one and you have concern that they have been harmed, every single one of those calls has been responded to. And every time those calls come in, they're treated as though they are going to be the call that results in the apprehension of Michael Paul Brown. The officer response to these calls has been immense. For those of you that have homes or have property in the Stumptown area, we hear your call for questions. We hear your concerns of access to your property and safety of your homes. The agencies that are working with Anaconda law enforcement are working to set up a process for communication with you so you'll have a clear understanding of your access to your home and to your property. When you're seeing lights and sirens pass your house, we're understanding that you want answers. However, we ask that you remain patient and know that the investigation is ongoing. There's information law enforcement cannot release to the public for potential of jeopardizing an ongoing investigation, and there's information that law enforcement cannot release for fear of creating additional safety risk to law enforcement officers or to the community at large. When the dust settles and our community is safe again, we will answer all of the questions that we are able to. In the meantime, we ask that you take information that you see on social media with a grain of salt. We ask that you refrain from sharing information that you do not know to be true. The specific facts that will later be necessary for the prosecution of this case are not necessarily relevant for the apprehension of Michael Paul Brown, nor do they ensure in keeping the public safe. The priority of all of the folks standing here before you is the apprehension of Michael Paul Brown. We ask that you be kind, we ask that you look out for your neighbors, and recognize that while state and federal agencies are here and they're working really hard, your local police force and your local dispatchers are working right alongside these agencies. They're also continuing to respond and patrol our community, respond to 911 calls, and remain involved in active ongoing investigations. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. Now, Attorney General Austin Knudsen will share more information on the resources available for reporting a tip to assist in the arrest and capture of this suspect.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. I'm Attorney General Austin Knudsen. I want to first say thank you to the Governor. This release of assets and resources for law enforcement is going to allow us to keep this manhunt going. This is very labor intensive. It's very resource intensive. These tactical teams and the manpower out here, knowing the state of Montana has stepped up and is going to offset some of those costs is a huge continuance for us. So thank you, Mr. Governor. Also want to thank the law enforcement crowd that's here. What you're seeing behind me is tremendous. This is nothing short of remarkable for a law enforcement response in the state of Montana. This is what we do. Something bad happens and neighbors respond. We've got local agencies, we've got county sheriffs, local municipalities, but I also want to thank our federal partners. We've got the FBI here, we've got the U.S. Marshal Service. This allows us to keep more resources focused at catching this individual. With that, I want to announce that the U.S. Marshal Service has increased our reward for any information that will lead to the capture of Michael Paul Brown. The U.S. Marshal Service has now put up $10,000 for any tip that leads to his apprehension. The tip line, and this is important, 1-877-WANTED-2, the number 2, WANTED-2, and I'll give you the digits, 1-877-926-8332. Again, there's a $10,000 reward currently for any information that's going to lead to the apprehension of Michael Paul Brown. We want to get this guy rounded up. This is our top focus in the entire state of Montana, is making sure this community is safe and getting this fugitive brought in one way or the other. So again, want to thank all our partners, thank my agencies, the state agencies, the county agencies, the city agencies, and our federal partners for being here. Thank you, Mr. Governor.
Yeah. Thank you, Attorney General. Once again, on behalf of the people of Montana, thank you to all the law enforcement officers and agencies dedicated to resolving this investigation and search, and to the families of those who lost loved ones. May God bless you and keep you. At this time, I'll open it up for questions. I ask that you please raise your hand and state your name and outlet. Yes.
John Riley, Montana Television.
Alrighty, so the update there that they are continuing to search for this suspect. This from just moments ago in Montana. To bring you guys context on this, what we're hearing right now, this is an event that occurred last Friday. It killed 4 people at a Montana bar, expanded from the edge of the town to adjacent national forest land. That's where authorities are continuing to search. Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest said late Saturday that more than 16 square miles of parkland is closed, and that was through August 16th. Michael Paul Brown is who authorities believe is the suspect. Here's an image of him on your screen. That is who they believe killed these 4 people, opening fire inside this bar, killing 4 people. It happened at the Owl Bar next door to his Anaconda home in Montana. The search has been continuing on for multiple days now. A press conference, though, just happening while we were on the air. So we will continue to follow that here. Want to take you out to another story that we are following at this hour that is over in California. A procession is underway for one of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies killed in the East LA explosion. If you remember, it was that explosion that occurred at one of their training facilities. It was unclear, kind of some details why they were transferring this explosive. But now we're seeing a procession. We've seen a few other processions. Of course, we're only on the air for so much time, so we're only able to be on the air for so many events that occur at once. So that is a look as you see there at that procession. You see the hearse there in the back, led by a number of motorcycle police officers as we are continuing to watch this. We are going to take a quick break here. We'll leave you on this shot here for just a moment. Brookland News Live returns in just a few moments. Welcome back in to Brooklyn News Live. We want to transition to another story that we are following at this hour. A civil arrest warrant has been issued for fleeing Democrats in the state of Texas. The news there, they held a press conference earlier today with the DNC chair. We're going to watch that here in just a moment, but the news being there that, if you'll hold with me, there has been civil arrest warrants issued, meaning that Texas law enforcement officers are called to arrest these Democrats that fled. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott has called for the Texas State Police to get involved. So if they get into Texas, they will likely be put into custody, but not arrested, taken into jail or anything. More of, as a lawyer was explaining it earlier on, I believe one of the other networks, it was that they would be taken to straight to the capital, essentially, of Texas in Austin. So That's what the news that we are getting there. The DNC chair and those Democrats held a little bit of a press conference earlier. Ken Martin is the chair. If you remember, he was elected a few months ago. I can't remember if we streamed that on the air. Let's go out to this event that occurred earlier.
I was like, what did I share?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm good, yeah. Oh, you know, I am short, but I'm wearing green.
Good, good. That's true. Good color.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm standing in front of some incredibly brave legislators today, Democrats who, despite pressure and despite calls for their arrests, left Texas to stop Republicans from passing a map that blatantly keeps Republicans and Trump in power. A deliberate attempt led by Republicans on the line for their constituents. As chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, I must say I am proud to welcome Texas House Democrats to our state. As the first Latina chair of the state party, I am proud to stand with them to protect voting rights, fairness, and the representation for Black and brown voters. With that, I want to pass it over to one of the most extraordinary people that I have encountered and met, our Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton.
Thank you so much, Chair Hernandez, and good morning, everyone. I'm Juliana Stratton. I'm proud to serve as Lieutenant Governor of Illinois, and I'm honored to be running for the United States Senate. To my friends from Texas, while I'm glad to welcome you all to the great state of Illinois, I wish we were coming together under different circumstances. We're here today not because we want to be, but because we have to be. Right now, we are facing the voting rights fight of our lifetime. Donald Trump and Texas Republicans are staging a blatant attempt to strip away voting rights and rig the next election. Texas families are still recovering from devastating floods. Americans nationwide are suffering under rising prices and cuts to health care and food assistance. But Trump and Texas Republicans are choosing to ignore the needs of their constituents and focusing on further rigging the system for their own advantage. And there's no line they won't cross. Governor Abbott has even called for duly elected representatives to be hunted down and arrested. That is authoritarianism, and all of us should be outraged. It's not lost on me that it's Black and Latino communities who will disproportionately be silenced by this attack. Tomorrow marks the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, which was specifically designed to prohibit racial discrimination in voting. That progress was only possible because people were brave enough to fight for it. People like my dad, Henry, a Navy veteran, who marched from Selma to Montgomery 60 years ago because voting rights were under attack. But here we are in 2025. Trump and Republicans will stop at nothing to roll back that progress. This is personal to me because my 92-year-old dad, Henry, has passed the baton to me and to all of us. And now is our time to stand up and fight. We have a message for President Trump and Governor Abbott. We are watching you. In Illinois, we don't sit on the sidelines. In Illinois, we don't take kindly to threats. And in Illinois, We fight back. If Trump and Texas Republicans won't play by the rules, we will look at every option available to stop their extreme power grab, and nothing will be off the table. My friends, I assure you that while you're here in Illinois, we will do everything in our power to support you and protect you, because this isn't just about Texas. It's not just about Illinois. It's about every American having the right to be heard. Now is the time for fighters to be bold, unflinching, and fearless as we stand up for our democracy. And that's what we'll continue doing in Illinois, and we're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with our friends in Texas in this fight. And with that, it is now my honor to pass it over to a true champion for democracy, who also happens to be the best governor in the nation, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I really am so pleased to welcome DNC Chair Ken Martin, along with Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher and Congressman Al Green, all, of course, from the state of Texas. And we're here, of course, because Texas House Democrats are demonstrating what it means to fight for the preservation of our constitutional republic. Donald Trump, Governor Abbott, Texas Republicans, well, they know that they're headed toward a loss of the Congress in 2026. They're afraid, and they should be. Because when you try to tear health care away from veterans and seniors, from children and people with disabilities, when you raise tariff taxes on groceries and beer and automobiles, when you let poor and working class families go hungry, when you allow smokestack industries to pollute the air and remove safety standards from food producers, well, all so that you can give a massive tax break to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Ackman, well, frankly, you'd better watch out. You're going to lose your elections. So they've decided that the only way to save themselves is to cheat, to change the rules in the middle of the game. And what do MAGA Republicans in Texas do when Donald Trump ignores, well, his oath of office and theirs, and when they're taking it upon themselves to thwart the will of the American people? Well, they say, when Donald Trump calls, they say, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Happy to lick your boot, sir." When Donald Trump says jump, Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton say, "How high?" They don't care that they're violating the Voting Rights Act and racially gerrymandering their state. Well, they're hoping they can rob the bank and get away before anyone notices. Texas Republicans are trying to diminish the voting power of their own constituents, and in doing so, diminish the rights of Illinoisans and all Americans. Texas House Democrats are putting their lives on hold and their livelihoods at risk because they don't want to live in a country where the president rigs elections for his side. That's not democracy. That's not America. To be in public office right now is to constantly ask yourself, how do I make sure that we're standing on the right side of history? Well, there's a simple answer. The wrong side of history will always tell you to be afraid. And the right side of history will always expect you to be courageous. Texas House Democrats are leading the way in choosing courage and country over politics and party. That's what it means to fight for what's right. And I love this country too. And I love it so much that I'm going to fight for it too, right alongside my heroes, the Texas House Democrats. Yeah. So the state of Illinois is proud to stand side by side with these brave Texas Democrats, heroes in the battle to save our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce the leader of the National Democratic Party, the great Ken Martin. Ken?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. I want to thank Governor Pritzker, of course, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, and Chairwoman Hernandez. Most importantly, I want to thank the patriots behind me. You know, patriotism means standing up for our Constitution in this time when it's under assault. from people throughout this country, including our President of the United States. Let me tell you something, though. You heard it from the governor. Democrats are fighting back. We're not rolling over. And I've been saying to these Texas Republicans, if you want a showdown, well, you're going to get a showdown. And here it is right now here in Illinois. Unlike Texas Republicans who held just one hearing on flood response, but 8 hearings on rigging maps, Texas Democrats are doing their damn jobs. They're standing up for the Constitution. They're standing up for the democracy. They're standing up for the voices of their constituents. There is nothing more American than calling out corruption, blasting bullies who seek to harm others, and defending democracy and the will of the voters. We are here on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act to once again stand up for fairness and justice. Because just as the icons of the civil rights movement marched, protested, and got into good trouble, just as Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and John Lewis fought to ensure that Americans could access the ballot regardless of the color of their skin, so too are these courageous Texas House Democrats standing up and fighting back against a racial gerrymandering scheme to disenfranchise.
Okay, well, I did not want to interrupt. We do want to go to another event that is happening right now. If you guys will give me just 1 second to get things together. The Chicago mayor is actually hosting Democrats. I'm going to go to that event that is happening right this second. The feed, I've cranked it back just a little bit here, so it will be a little bit behind when we get it to you. Let's go there right now. Okay, listen in.
I just want to make sure that I'm absolutely clear about why it's important that we continue to drive violent crime down in the city of Chicago. It's my top priority. It's something that is always top of mind for me. In order for us to have a vibrant city, we have to have a safe city. All of you all know, and the people of Chicago know, it's my goal to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. And we are well on our way of accomplishing that feat. And, you know, in this moment, as you'll see, there are clear signs and indications that we are moving in the right direction. But I do want to acknowledge something, though. There was a social media debate last week over the weekend of the top 4 cities in the United States of America. And as you can see, there were many different comments here, of which some of them did not even put Chicago in the top 4, which is pretty shocking, and quite frankly, I find it to be appalling. So what I've decided to do is just give people an opportunity to end this debate once and for all. The top 4 cities in America, let's start with the first one, Chicago. Thank you very much. You know, but I also want to talk about, you know, last week, which was really a perfect testament to the greatness of our city. We hosted the Premier League games, the doubleheader. It was just an amazing turnout, 50,000 folks from all over the world. We had the Fiesta del Sol. We announced that the All-Star game of 2027 is coming to Chicago, and we had literally the best Lollapalooza that we've ever had. I think a lot of people were really impressed with what they saw with Lolla in particular. We're still waiting on some of the final numbers, but we saw upwards of 115,000 attendees every single day, the fewest arrests that we've seen. Now, that doesn't happen without the coordination between OEMC, CPD, CFD, and all of our departments who work together to keep all of our people safe. The scale and the coordination were truly a testament to our city workers. But let me now pass it over to someone who is working incredibly hard to bring more large events and visitors to our city. She has hit the ground running in her new role, and I think we already are seeing the expertise that she brings to this position. So please welcome for the first time at one of these briefings our true CEO President, Kristen Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Merritt, and Commissioner McMurray for inviting me today for your leadership and your partnership and your support of Chicago's tourism industry. Chicago's tourism industry is a key economic generator and job creator. In 2024, the visitor economy generated more than $20 billion in local spending and is responsible for more than 130,000 local jobs across all 77 neighborhoods. We're coming off a very strong 2024, and the tourism industry globally has faced many economic and social challenges in 2025. However, thanks to an aggressive and strategic approach to prioritize and invest in our tourism industry, Chicago is...
Okay, I am going to interrupt because I did think that this was going to have something to do with the Texas Democrats fleeing, and it doesn't. It's just the Chicago mayor there speaking on just a regular old press conference. Let's why don't we take you back out live to these Democrats who are speaking. Give me just a moment and we'll get a graphic pulled up for them. With DNC Chair Ken Paxton. Why don't we take you back out to that conference that we were watching? And I also want to note that we're monitoring a few other events. So before we go to that, let's take you out to the State Department briefing that we are monitoring. That is a live look there inside that room. We are waiting for it to get underway, expected to occur at the top of the hour. We also, we've just gotten a live look into the Texas House because they are expected to convene at the top of the hour as well. There's that live look. When they get underway, we're going to see what happens here. Second day in a row that we've been watching this just to see what kind of happens here. We are also continuing to watch this feed that we are getting in from KNBC in Los Angeles. You see all of those officers there. This is for the procession of one of the officers that was killed in that East LA explosion. This is the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputy, to get my wording correct there, who was killed in that explosion. So we're monitoring this procession here in a pretty sad day. Pretty sad. Really few months here now. I don't know. It's been a few weeks since the explosion, but it's been so sad just covering it and noting all of these officers that have passed away in the explosion. Just devastating to just cover it. We're gonna keep following it though. Okay, let's take you back out over to this press conference as we wait for a number of events to get underway at the top of the hour. We will kind of listen in for this one. We'll see where we go, and then we'll take another break. We'll listen in for a few moments is what I meant to say, and then we will go to our events that are happening at the top of the hour.
Barbara Gervin Hawkins, leader of the Legislative Black Caucus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ramiro. I want to talk to America. America, this is not a Texas fight. This is an American fight. And we need each and every one of you involved and engaged. I'm Barbara Gervin Hawkins, State Representative out of San Antonio, Texas. I'm also chair of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, and I'm on the redistricting committee. So I've seen firsthand what my colleagues are attempting to do. I'm proud to be here in Illinois with my colleagues who've given up and have sacrificed a lot. Jobs, family, being caregivers. It's been a challenge. And people say, what are you doing in Illinois? We're here understanding that we do have real allies, allies who's also willing to sacrifice for us. I also want to talk to my colleagues, my Republican colleagues in Texas. You wrong for this. You wrong for this. You already have the governor's office. You're the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House. What more do you want? What more do you want? You have the power. It is time for y'all to love America again. I'm looking for my colleagues, my Republican colleagues, to be brave and stand up to what this demand has come. Think about it. We have a devastation that we have not addressed in our city. Over 130 people passed away, many young people. Some of those camp owners I know, but yet we're trying to ram a redistricting map. If they were serious about truly trying to go the will of the people that they think, we could do this next year or next time, or wait for 10 years to do this. But the reality is Trump called and they fell down and say, what do you want us to do? Which says they're weak. And we don't need that in Texas. No. Texas is a great state. And we need to show our courage. And I'm asking my colleagues to show your courage, to be willing to fight the fight and stand against, as we all together save America. I'm also looking at our Republicans across the country. Call some of your colleagues and tell them to vote against this, because it is shameful. Now, I come from an athletic family. If anybody heard the name Gervin, they know about the finger roll. My brother may not have won a championship, but guess what? He never cheated in a game. He never cheated. And guess what our Republican colleagues are trying to do? Cheat in the game. And that's wrong. With that, I'd like to introduce a Congresswoman, Fletcher.
Alrighty, we will interrupt there. Time now, almost 1 p.m., 12:59, just turned 1 p.m. actually. Let's bring you a look at the feeds that we are covering. We want to go over to Canada right now. On our international front, Mark Carney set to make an announcement. That is the Prime Minister in Canada. We are watching for... Okay, we will turn the audio up here for just a moment. I will like to note, before we get to that, Texas House of Representatives has just convened, and we're also waiting for an event, the State Department briefing to be held. Let's listen to this, though.
It is unbelievable in there. You see a blend of old school moving wood around to technology that's maximizing every piece of the lumber that goes through there. It's pretty incredible. This mill is an economic driver for this region, and it provides hundreds of good paying jobs for the people of this community. Today, the Prime Minister will announce tangible supports for the softwood lumber industry for British Columbia and Canada that really help us get through the trade situation we're going on with the U.S. I think as important as the tangible things the Prime Minister will announce is the people that showed up here to do the announcement. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, we are paying attention to this because this really matters to us, the people who work here, and to Canada and Canadians. So with that, to do the heavy lifting, I want to bring to the podium the 24th Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Minister Hodgson, for joining us. And let me thank Nick and the team here at Gorman Brothers for showing us around this incredible facility, but more importantly, giving us a window into the ecosystem that Gorman is part of. An ecosystem that spans this great province, that reaches out to customers in Canada, the United States, around the world, and provides tremendous value to those customers, and does so because it's built on values of this company. So it couldn't be more thrilled to be here on this important day for this industry. Now, before we begin, and as the sun beats down on my bald head, I'm reminded of the challenges, in all seriousness, the challenges that we're facing with the wildfires here in British Columbia and across Canada. And we've just seen recently fires down the road in the Okanagan. And I want to express our deep gratitude to the firefighters and the first responders who are on the front lines of combating these fires in the Okanagan, in British Columbia, and across our great country. And I also want to thank the Canadian Armed Forces because in support of those efforts, hundreds, thousands of Canadian Armed Forces personnel across Canada have been involved, including to evacuate thousands of people in danger. And we will continue to work closely with communities, the provinces, the territories to protect lives and homes and businesses. Now, Steve's driven by here a couple hundred times. I've driven through here countless times. I can't count to 200 like Steve, but countless time as a kid, spending summer vacations in the Okanagan. This was always the highlight. But a lot has changed since then. There's a bit less fruit, less farming, more grapes, more golf, a myriad of new businesses sprouting up from aerospace to artificial intelligence and health sciences. But there are also a few constants. The good weather, the great people, and despite perils ranging from pine beetles to protectionism, the BC interior remains home to a world-leading softwood lumber industry. Yeah, because of these people. Yeah. And Gorman Brothers embodies the spirit of that industry and really the very best of Canada. Resilient, ambitious, dynamic. What began over 75 years ago with two brothers adapting from challenges in the orchards, building fruit boxes, has evolved into this thriving company with hundreds of highly skilled employees, and a company, as I said a moment ago, that supports an ecosystem that spans this province and builds the world. Canada was literally built with our forests and by workers such as those behind me. Indigenous peoples relied on our forests for their communities, for their transportation, for their artistic expression. Early settlers built our economy on lumber, literally built our economy on lumber, supplying the British Empire before shifting exports to a growing market in the United States. Each summer, thousands of university and college students help pay their tuition by planting trees. The forest industry is a pillar of the Canadian economy. It supports 200,000 jobs across the country, contributes more than $20 billion directly to our GDP. It's the economic backbone of nearly 300 rural, Indigenous, and northern communities, many of them right here in British Columbia. Aujourd'hui, le Canada est le deuxième producteur mondial de bois d'œuvre. Nous fournissons 85% des importations américaines.
Okay, he's now entered the French part of his announcement there. We want to go over, as we continue to wait for the State Department briefing to get underway, to the Texas House that is convening right now. I believe they still, maybe not. Actually, it appears they have just finished convening moments ago. The quorum has not been reached, meaning they will have to kind of go back into a pause and reconvene on another day in hopes that Democrats will return. It's unclear at this point in time. Don't really actually know when Democrats are going to return. That's kind of not something that we know right now. Still waiting over in Washington for the State Department briefing to get underway. We are going to sneak in a quick break, though. You're watching Brookland News Live. Welcome back in to Brooklyn News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We are continuing to watch Prime Minister
we can reinforce
of Canada, Mark Carney, make an announcement on building Canada strong. Let's listen back in.
Certain of our major Canadian industries are being severely impacted by U.S. trade. These strategic sectors include autos, steel, aluminum, copper, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and of course, softwood lumber. So while we'll continue to work with the United States on the many mutually beneficial opportunities that we share in trade and investment, it is clear that we cannot count or fully rely on what has been our most valued trading relationship for our prosperity. And that's why we're increasingly focused on building our strength at home and finding new opportunities for Canadian companies and workers abroad. Our government's new comprehensive industrial strategy will help our companies retool and reinvest to protect Canadian jobs, to build Canadian competitiveness, and to meet growing demands in Canada while developing international opportunities wherever free trade is a commitment, not a condition. 2 weeks ago, I announced the first of the elements of that new strategy with a series of measures to support the transition in the Canadian steel industry. And of course, today here, I'm going to focus on how we can help transform our softwood lumber industry to compete in this tough new environment. And it starts from recognizing that 2/3 of Canadian lumber production and nearly 90% of Canadian lumber exports currently go to the United States, leaving us disproportionately exposed to their trade actions. This dependence creates costly uncertainty. It weakens our industry's ability to weather downturns. It makes lumber more expensive for builders here at home, and it foregoes enormous opportunities in fast-growing markets around the world. So to turn challenge into opportunity, with Minister Hodgson, Secretary of State Fuhr, today I'm announcing a series of new measures to help the softwood lumber industry pivot to a growing Canadian market and to the markets of reliable trading partners around the world. J'annonce aujourd'hui une série de nouvelles mesures pour aider l'industrie de bois d'œuvre à se tourner vers le marché canadien en pleine croissance et de nouveaux partenaires.
Part of his statement. Well, listen to the English. Viewers are mostly English. Anyways, we are monitoring these two events, though, on your screen. The State Department briefing to occur soon, as well as this Building Canada event. What I do want to go to, though, right now, if we can, a little earlier over in the Texas House, this would just be moments ago. They convened for just a moment before they then adjourned again due to the fact a quorum was not met. This is something that has happened now for a few times for the last 2 days. That's Speaker Dustin Burrows there on your screen. We are going to watch for that. Okay, and we are just getting some breaking news in. Stand by with me. We will get it to you on your screen. Takes just a second sometimes when we have breaking news to get these feeds onto your screen. We're going to take a pause from what we were just watching over in Texas. Also, I believe we have lost. Okay. Let's see here. Alrighty, this is moments ago in Los Angeles before they lost this vehicle. Let me change it from saying live. A pursuit of a vehicle that, you see, that's it kind of quickly when they lost it because they're behind a lot of houses. a vehicle being pursued. It was a burglary suspect, and I'm being told it was multiple suspects as well. This is in Los Angeles, of course. Where a lot of these pursuits do happen. It's really quite interesting how common it is for these pursuits to occur in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's almost the only place that they occur. Let's put you up on the screen. This feed, again, according to from Fox 11 Los Angeles, KTTV. Let's actually take you back live now because I do want to make sure we're getting live feeds here. So 1 second and we will take you back out live to that chase that we are watching here. I believe they've got possibly an LAPD vehicle with the suspect. Unclear. Let's what we're gonna do here, we'll take away the moment away. We'll go back over there. Sorry, a lot of things we're monitoring.
99 was the last location. They actually had somebody jumping over walls somewhere right in this area, right here in the alleyway. That's what I'm looking for right now, but you can see that did come to a crashing end out here. That Tesla damage there in the intersection. LAPD all in the area right now. And like I said, I just turned down the scanner, so right now I can't even tell you if they're taking anybody into custody, but we do know that some guys did jump out. They are in this area, and now it is becoming a perimeter. Oh.
Okay, as we were listening in there for just a moment to KTTV, we are now seeing some movement from different suspects. A car just pulled forward, maybe talking to police officers. You saw that Tesla then crashing. In this pursuit of multiple burglary suspects.
You know
There's
what?
that
I
Tesla.
did not. I was more concerned about trying to get over to this location when all that was happening. You can see the officers walking through this neighborhood. I'm not even sure if that collision actually happened right here at that intersection because whatever he did hit is clearly not here. LAPD, they are definitely right now, their big concern is going to be that suspect that may still be out running. And hang on. There he is. He's somewhere right in here. There you go. There you go. They're taking him into custody right there. There it is. Yeah, I turned the scanner back on. That usually helps. But at any rate,
now we're watching that suspect be taken into custody. We will continue to monitor this event here that is ongoing. Again, a pursuit of multiple burglary suspects. Sorry about that. Looks like they've gotten them into custody and the scene has concluded. This was in Los Angeles. Southeast Los Angeles to be exact, Wall Street and East Century Boulevard, where that feed is right now. The vehicle, a Tesla, speeding down the interstate. Then the helicopter lost it due to the fact that we were behind a lot of buildings. Then they found where it was. The Tesla was then crashed, and the suspect was on the loose somewhere. So this feed again, according to KTTV there. So we will monitor that there. As it continues, let's take you out to another event that we're watching right now. Over with the State Department briefing, we are standing by for it to get underway. It should get underway here at any moment now. We're waiting for it do exactly that. Let's take you out to, and we'll listen in this time to the full event here. Let's take you right past, I'm sorry, I'm skipping a little bit. I want to go right past the prayer that occurs when the Texas House got underway. It's loading right now for me. Okay, let's just start it here. Let's go over to the Texas House. This is moments ago when they got underway and soon adjourned due to no quorum being met. Let's listen in here.
Their areas, Father, to do so, Father, in kindness, but very clear in their stand for their constituents and for Texas, Father. Thank you, Father, for this great special session. We ask you to be with every member of this legislature and all the admin, Father, that help work it together. It's in Jesus' name that we pray.
Okay, so maybe it was just not me that it kept loading there. That is the feed that we were continuously getting. Why don't we, what we're going to do here, we are going to sneak in a quick break. Brookland News Live returns in a moment. Welcome back into Brookland News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It's Thursday at 1:21 p.m. At the top of the hour. We were expected to see a State Department briefing get underway. Of course, per the usual, they are running a little behind there. Live look in the briefing room as we are waiting for that to get underway. I want to take you to a few other feeds that we are watching. That is that announcement on Building Canada Strong in Canada with Prime Minister Mark Carney there on your screen. Also, why don't we take a live look at the White House this hour, because President Donald Trump, we likely will not be on the air for this, but he's expected to sign some executive orders a little later in the day. We are also monitoring this scene that was occurring earlier a few moments ago. A suspect was taken into custody. It was said to be multiple burglary suspects. That's the information that we were getting. Of course, police scanners do not prove to be 100% accurate. So we will continue to monitor that. In the meantime, we've been listening in for the last few minutes or so. Prime Minister Mark Carney make a announcement on, he was speaking on U.S. tariffs and Building Canada Strong. Why don't we listen back in here for a moment?
C'est-à-dire que 85% des exportations canadiennes aux États-Unis n'ont aucun tarif américain. C'est le même pour les Américains par rapport au Canada. Alors, nous sommes dans une position d'égalité à ce moment-ci. Deuxièmement, nous sommes en train d'une négociation avec les Américains qui concerne surtout les secteurs stratégiques. Le bois d'œuvre, l'acier, l'aluminium, les automobiles, la cuivre, puis les pharmaceutiques et les semi-conducteurs. Alors ça, c'est la situation actuelle. Et nous mettons l'accent dans une manière positive de bâtir nos industries stratégiques, y compris, évidemment, le secteur de bois d'œuvre.
Prochaine question, CP, Canadian Press.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question. Wolf Deppner, Canadian Press. The Premier, Prime Minister, I'm still used to my old gig. Prime Minister, a number of premiers just put out a letter calling on your government to make the softwood lumber agreement a high priority. You probably saw that letter. This government here in British Columbia has asked repeatedly to treat the softwood lumber industry the way the Ontario auto industry is to be treated. What assurances can you give British Columbians and their government that your government won't sacrifice the softwood lumber industry on behalf of some sort of trade deal that would protect the auto industry in Woodbridge, Ontario?
Thank you. Well, first off, thank you for the question. I did see the letter. I read the letter. I've read it several times. I've had direct discussions with the premiers on that issue, including a long discussion with Premier Eby on the weekend, Sunday on the weekend. And just to underscore that discussion, Sunday on a long weekend, even premiers deserve a holiday. He was on his holiday and he came in to have that discussion, underscoring the importance of this industry and the importance of doing everything we can to resolve the situation. We have consistently raised the issue with our American counterparts. It's one of the elements that adds to the complexities of the negotiations we're having with them, because those who follow the trade actions over the years, and they have been over the years, decades in softwood lumber, they are distinct but related to what the U.S. has been doing recently. These are trade actions under countervailing duties, anti-dumping. They're trade actions that Canada has challenged in court, various dispute panels, others. We win those challenges in general.
Alrighty, we are going to interrupt here once again. Prime Minister Mark Carney there speaking. Let's go over to the State Department briefing that is occurring right now with Tammy Bruce.
As you might imagine, and then we will, the Imperial we, will take your questions. Thank you all for being here. I do appreciate it. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Marco Rubio, the United States continues to pursue a clear-eyed foreign policy that prioritizes the safety, prosperity, and global standing of the American people. Last week, the department welcomed delegations from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda to Washington to support implementation of the June 27th peace agreement, led by senior advisor Boulos. These discussions focused on regional security, cooperation, and economic development, critical pillars for achieving lasting peace and prosperity in the Great Lakes region. And today, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden announced they would fund an additional $500 million package of U.S.-made equipment for Ukraine. In addition, yesterday, the Netherlands announced it will fund the first package of U.S.-made weapons and munitions, including Patriot missiles, worth over $500 million. Together, these deliveries total over $1 billion of life-saving, top-of-the-line American equipment that, as noted by Ambassador Whitaker, will allow Ukraine to, quote, protect critical infrastructure and civilian lives while also staying in the fight until a lasting ceasefire happens. These commitments deliver on President Trump's initiative to facilitate billions of dollars in investment to the United States defense industry and create American jobs while ensuring Europe can ultimately defend itself long term. Additionally, today, the State Department published a temporary final rule in the Federal Register. I know that sounds kind of bureaucratic-like for everyone watching at home. This is to implement a visa bond pilot program under the Immigration and Nationality Act, consistent with Executive Order 14159, beginning August 20th. Nationals of Malawi and Zambia applying for B1, B2 business and tourist visas will be required to post a bond of up to $15,000. This targeted common sense measure reinforces the administration's commitment to U.S. immigration law while deterring visa overstays. Now, turning to our disaster response for the Philippines. With $250,000 in funding from the Department of State, the World Food Program is transporting family food packs to flood-affected people across central and northern Luzon, with nearly 14,000 delivered to date. The department is providing an additional $250,000 to provide emergency shelter assistance to meet the needs of over 15,000 disaster-affected individuals. Finally, President Trump is signing an executive order today establishing a White House task force on the 2028 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games. With Los Angeles set to host the World, the task force will coordinate across federal, state, and local agencies to ensure streamlined visa processes, robust security, and efficient transportation. This action highlights America's enduring role as a global leader and premier destination for international engagement, tourism, and sports diplomacy. All right, so a bunch of stuff there. I am looking forward now to taking your questions. And we'll start here. Yes, ma'am. Nice to see you up here as opposed to further back. Welcome aboard.
Very revolutionary.
And you know,
for
before you begin, I do want to announce everyone who is in the front row today. As we know, we have guests as well as regular attendees here in the room for our front row. First, we have Mal MacIver Sheridan with Kyoto. We have Sarah Karakam with Hulk TV Turkey. Sean Fleetwood with The Federalist. Adam Credo with the Washington Free Beacon. I know your avatar on social media. Now everyone's going to be able to see your face. John Lyons, or is it John or Kamen? Kamen, welcome aboard. Kamen Gok with ABC Australia. And Jacob with The Times of Israel. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you again. Saw you this morning. All right, everyone. So now again, Sarah, let's start with you.
Thank you very much. I want to start with Syria. SDF military leader Mazlum Abdi recently stated that Syria should adopt a decentralized structure where all groups have the right to self-governance. He added that a centralized system has already failed. He also said that during his meeting with U.S. Ambassador to Turkey and Special Envoy Thomas Barak, that Ms. Barak came to understand that Syria cannot be governed from a single center. Given that and considering Turkey's strong opposition to any form of Kurdish autonomy in the northeast due to SDF's ties to PKK, an organization that is reportedly now engaged in a disarmament reintegration process in Turkey, albeit with no formal outcome yet, does the U.S. support the SDF's apparent push to establish a parallel or federal governing structure rather than reintegrating into the central Syrian regime? Has the U.S. position on Syria's territorial integrity shifted or softened in any way?
So in general about Syria, I think that this is important. First thing I want to do is read a tweet from Ambassador Barak, our ambassador to Turkey, as well as, of course, our special envoy there in the Middle East as well, Syria and Lebanon. He tweeted, disturbing violence erupted yesterday, this was on August 4th, I should say, in Sueda and in Manbij. Diplomacy is the best way to stop violence and build a peaceful, lasting solution. The United States is proud to have helped mediate a solution in Sueda and to be co-mediating with France the reintegration of the Northeast into a unified Syria. The path ahead belongs to Syrians, urging all sides to uphold calm and resolve differences through dialogue, not bloodshed. Syria deserves stability. Syrians deserve peace. When it comes to, I guess you're asking about Turkey and the
single center governance, did you change your stance on that?
Well, no, first of all, Ambassador Barak continues to engage all parties to ensure security and calm for all Syrians. But we are continuing to support dialogue with the Syrian government and the Syrian democratic forces aimed at integrating the SDF into the Syrian military. Of course, we welcome all productive meetings between the SDF and President al-Shura. We also support the SDF's intent to transform the current ceasefire in northeast Syria into a comprehensive and lasting peace. And of course, it will be up to Syria and the new government to move the country toward peace and prosperity. I can say that when we look at the notion of a comprehensive, inclusive government, of course, that is the way that it has to work. And I think, as we've talked before about places that have been unstable, That's been the point, is that we're working for stability, and I think our position previously still stands, certainly, and we continue with democracy being vitally important, as well as diplomacy when it comes to the nature of how we solve the problems there.
A short follow-up, please. Is the U.S. following Turkey's newly formed parliamentary commission that is reportedly working to end PKK's armed campaign, potentially through reforms and in counterterrorism criminal legislation change for a peaceful transition? If so, how might that effort affect your approach to northern Syria and your ongoing partnerships on the ground?
Well, first of all, we won't comment on actions that governments are taking internally when it comes to legislation or moves that they seek to make. Nor will I discuss the impact on what our negotiations might be or our relationship with other governments that are affected by something like that. At the same time, I'll take that back to a degree to see if there has been any remarks or elements that might be helpful. And again, for those watching at home, when we say we're going to take back a question, it means that we're going to get an answer to that question in some form and get it back directly to the reporter as well. So I think we've got a good track record in that regard. All right, yes, Leon.
Yes, hi, thanks, Ken. I'd like to speak a little bit about Gaza. The Israeli Prime Minister had a cabinet meeting earlier. They're settling on a new plan for Gaza, which according to certain reports would mean reoccupying all of Gaza. What is the State Department's position on that? Would you support an occupation of all of Gaza?
Well, of course, you know what we're focused on still, getting the hostages out after what we saw with videos over the last couple of days. It is a reminder to people about the evil that has been running this terror operation in Gaza via, of course, through Hamas. What I can tell you is that we would refer you in that instance regarding Israel's plans to the government of Israel. And regarding that reporting, again, reporting is one thing, real plans might be another. We are not in the business of interpreting statements from foreign governments when and if they're made. We do remain focused on freeing the hostages, including the remains of 2 Americans, and ensuring that Hamas never rules Gaza again. All right. Yes, sir, from Australia.
Thank you, Tammy. For a country like Australia, even though we have a free trade agreement, we're now being hit with tariffs. The US is reviewing the AUKUS submarine agreement, and it seems our Prime Minister can't even get a meeting with your President. What does this say about the way the United States now views some of its relationships with its traditional allies?
Well, I don't speak for President Trump, right? He's made clear his intentions and his efforts around the world. Here at the State Department, of course, we speak for the view and approach of Secretary Rubio. What I can say, though, is what President Trump has said publicly, which is that in the beginning of the tariff framework, it was to even the playing field, and then, yes, move into negotiations with countries around the world. So for more details about the timing and plans and conversations, I'd refer you to the White House. What I do know, of course, is that we enjoy a terrific relationship with Australia. We always have, and I think we expect to have that continue. I can say that our alliance has never been stronger or more important. We share the same values, beliefs, and goals. We have fought, of course, side by side in battles over the last 100 years. But I think that for President Trump's approach and attitude, it really is about America being as strong as she can be, which matters to the rest of the world and informs all the rest of our alliances and partnerships. For our nation to be strong and as secure as we can be. Certainly, Australia and all of our partners around the world recognize this. It's been, I think, a very long time, which is why many people have been surprised that we're going to have conversations like this. We've seen his success, the money that has come into America as a tremendous supplier and supplier of goods around the world. So I think that that's what we can expect for Australia, as we do a number of other countries, of which we'll have the pleasure of being able to speak with the president and make their own arrangements as well in that regard. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. So in recent weeks, we've seen the release of previously classified documents showing that then President Obama and his intel chiefs weaponized a 2017 Intel Community Assessment to push the lie that Trump colluded with Russia in the 2016 election. And in this ICA, which showed at the behest of Obama's intel chiefs, included weak and misinterpreted intel to push the notion that Russia wanted Trump to win the election. Meanwhile, the ICA did not include evidence showing the opposite. Many media and the Democrats have since clung to the Senate Intel Committee report and then Senator Rubio's work in drafting that report that said the ICA was fine and that they agreed with Obama's intel chiefs that Russia intervened to help Trump. So my question is, does Secretary Rubio agree with the media and other Democrats that there was nothing improper about the creation of the ICA, or do the recent documents that have been released change his views about the assessment?
Well, I put out a statement myself responding to this when it first came up, and I've found that for you. But I would say that this, in some ways, explains, of course, the vehemence and the effort to try to keep President Trump from winning the last election because of the nature now of what investigations are occurring or may occur. This is what the American people voted for. We saw a great deal going on that was improper, and so we look forward, of course, to what these investigations reveal. Regarding Secretary Rubio, as then Senator Rubio, my statement was this, I think maybe over a week ago. If the legacy media were at all curious about the facts of the matter, they would have found from then Senator Rubio's own statement from 2020 concurrence with DNI Gabbard's consequential findings. Then Senator Rubio determined that the use of the Steele dossier was, quote, very troubling, but even more so, he was alarmed by the behavior and the actions of the FBI in pursuit of what has now been confirmed as a dangerous hoax. His statement revealed serious wrongdoing leading to one of the most infamous political scandals in American history. And of course, I think that at that time was appropriate. As all of us who are here and grateful to be here and blessed to be here, we are also grateful for the American people seeing through that and putting President Trump back in office.
A quick follow-up, if I may.
Right, sure.
So you're saying that Secretary Rubio disagrees with the assessment from Democrats and the media that the drafting of the ICA was on the up and up?
Well, what I can say and what I always caution people in this room to not do is to not draw an extended conclusion about something that I presented. What I presented is what I presented. So I'm not going to expand more on that regarding what the Secretary thinks or might be considering. I won't get ahead of the Secretary in that regard. But I think it's pretty clear what his position is. Right, Daphne.
Thank you so much. Just to follow up on my colleague's question on Gaza,
yes.
Have U.S. officials spoken with Netanyahu about this potential plan for a complete military takeover of Gaza?
I won't remark on any conversations whether or not they have occurred.
Okay, and then Axios is reporting that Witkoff and President Trump discussed plans for the U.S. to increase its role in providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. What will this look like, and how quickly will the U.S. act? I know Trump has mentioned food centers. Where does that stand now?
Well, as we all know, every few minutes things change. When we say something's fluid on the ground, this couldn't be a better example of the nature of how things are moving. I can tell you that after the visit from Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee, they went at the behest of the president, who wanted people on the ground to be able to report back to him exactly what was happening. Most of us, of course, are relying on reports from various areas. They have reported back to the president. What I won't do is get ahead of what the president will decide about what he's heard and the actions that he will decide to take. He will, obviously, he'll make that known to everyone. But what we do know, of course, from the beginning is that humanitarian aid has been at the heart of our action, not just for Gaza, but around the world. In my topper, as we call it, I mentioned, of course, our current standing with the Philippines and assistance there. But we do know, of course, just as a reminder for people who might not know, Special Envoy Witkoff spent over 5 hours inside Gaza this last weekend to assess the situation and to begin planning the best way to deliver urgent food and medical care to Gaza. And while we don't have anything to announce at this point, obviously it's rather early regarding the end result of that, that still remains our priority. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Also on Gaza,
yes.
The Free Beacon reported last night about mounting concerns about the Red Cross and its failure to assess the Israeli hostages that are still being held there, especially after Hamas's latest videos came out. Folks I spoke to said to me that are actually looking at reassessing the U.S. relationship with the Red Cross because of this. So I wanted to ask you, one, about that. Is that an option with Congress to reassess the Red Cross's position over there? And two, what's your assessment of their job they've been doing in terms of accessing the Israeli hostages and providing them what appears to be much needed medical care?
Well, I won't speak about the Red Cross or Israel's reaction to that. There's certainly many moving parts. We know that that is part of the nature of what Hamas tends to do. I believe that there were some requirements for them to allow that, but I won't get into those particular details. Obviously, though, with what we've seen with those videos, I've referred to Hamas as monsters in this room. They are clearly a terrorist group. Their main support has been Iran, and they are on their heels now. Clearly, the Middle East is changing, and it is a change that President Trump has asked to be one that is a reflection of new ideas, of having this be a durable peace, not this vicious circle of it happening several times during each generation as though this was some new normal. We reject that. It is clear that the time is now to make the difference it is about, of course, the Israeli people. But the nationalities involved in October 7th, the way that this affects the world as they continue to contribute to try to make a difference, it's a world we all deserve better. So at this point, I would say that when it comes to what Israel's planning, we will have to wait and see. And again, what the decisions that President Trump will announce when it comes to what the way is forward will, based on his pattern, will come up very quickly, perhaps sooner than most of us can imagine. But there is, on the hostages, what we saw, it is an astoundingly evil reminder of who they are in the midst of the conversation around the world. For them to feel comfortable then putting on full display their barbarity and their inhumanity tells you that they seem to feel pretty comfortable at the moment. All of us, the world was appalled. I mean, there's just no other way to describe it. But our leadership clearly is involved in looking to the future, and that is one that the Gazan people deserve and that everyone in the world deserve. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I wanted to ask you what the State Department or Secretary Rubio's position is on what to do with warehoused excess food from USAID, some of which has not spoiled, biscuits in Dubai, peanut paste, and whether that should be distributed. It's all been paid for by the taxpayers. So is there a view toward whether it should be incinerated or distributed or some combination? Is there a plan afoot?
Well, there's many moving parts, I can say. There is a dynamic involving various different considerations regarding expired food, regarding our Mexico City policy when it comes to certain items as well. And food, we discussed this before, but it's worth repeating. We have food that is purchased, meant to be distributed to specific locations. And then there is food in various locations around the world that is for global emergencies, that sits. And it's food that is meant not to be moved. It's food to be there if there is an emergency where people have to be fed in a quick way with food that is sustainable and and that can be maintained for an extended period of time. But that is food. That's all right. That's the electronic world. It's food that is meant to not be moved. But then there's food, of course, that is there, that is stored in certain places, that is meant for a location. And that moves out and it gets distributed where it should be. But if food is spoiled, it will be destroyed. We are not going to distribute food that is expired. If there is food that is meant for emergencies that has expired, we'll deal with that also accordingly.
Is there any circumstance under which the State Department would countenance destroying unspoiled food for some reason?
Well, I again don't know of all the circumstances. I can say that there could be a reason of all the things that exist around the world, whether it is the inability for us to move it, a refusal of a government to allow us access or to move it to another country. I can't speak. There are many, many different fronts about why certain decisions are made. What I can tell you is what I've watched over the last 6 months are people who've been here for years, sometimes decades. I see you, sir. Keep your hand down. Thank you very much. Of people who've worked here on these issues for a very long time, others of us who are new because of the election. And the focus has been on how can we make these things work? How can we save enough of whatever the issue is? If it's about funding, if it's about food, if it's about what do we need, how can we make it work, but within the smartest, fastest, most nimble way to be able to help as many people as possible. No one is sitting in a room thinking, how can we destroy as much stuff as possible? That's not our goal. I've spoken in this room many times about the impact of the people who are Foreign Service officers and who are civil servants, who've dedicated their lives, their professions, to making a difference for people around the world. They are still here. They still care deeply. And we are here to try to manage, right, the largest, the most amazing government in the world and what we can do for the people around the world while still paying the respect and the deference to the American people and what they deserve first, so that we can remain the powerhouse and the helper and the friend that we are around the world. So each situation is different, but our goal is to make sure that we do remain in the foreign aid business. We remain a facilitator of things that the world needs. Many people probably didn't know that we have these food stores around the world waiting in case something happens. But we need to be able to facilitate that, and we're doing so transparently. We discuss this with you, and that's what I know about the people who work here. All right. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tammy. Over the weekend, the State Department confirmed that Khamis Ayad, a Palestinian who died due to complications from smoke inhalation after trying to put out a fire started by allegedly Israeli settlers in a village in the West Bank, confirmed that he was a U.S. citizen. Is the U.S. State Department calling on Israel to investigate this death? Has this issue been raised with Israeli authorities?
Well, we have made comments before. There have been, it's a violent situation. There have been a few Americans who've passed in this kind of a dynamic, certainly also one in Syria. Our first priority, and it's not a motto or a slogan, is the safety and security of Americans everywhere. So certainly here at home, but also abroad. We know that when a death occurs in a foreign country, it's that foreign country's prerogative, right? They will be doing an investigation. We have called upon Israel to investigate, of course, each of these instances that they are, and that we wait to see what those investigations will be, and that's the case here in this situation. There's a great deal we of course still don't know, but that is something. To say we're following it is an understatement. We are on that and every other situation that has impacted an American citizen, wherever they may be in the world. And then once those local investigations are done and we take a look, again, this is a DHS issue, if you will, when it comes to investigations, or the FBI. But as each one of these situations move forward, I will keep everyone up to date. All right. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tommy. Yesterday, Speaker Johnson was in the West Bank, which he referred to as Judea and Samaria, and said that it rightfully belongs to the Jewish people. Is that official U.S. policy? And if it's not, what is U.S. policy towards the West Bank?
I have said this about other diplomats who've spoken their minds, including Ambassador Huckabee. Certainly, that's not... if there's a policy in that regard, you would hear it from me. So I think I can say that. I'm not going to speak for him or characterize his words in any certain ways, but clearly that is his opinion.
But it's not the opinion of the U.S. government?
Well, I'm not going to speak about opinion of the government, and if there's a policy regarding the status in any region of the world, but certainly in the Middle East, I would wait to hear it from Secretary Rubio and President Trump. All right. All right. Yes, sir. Alec?
Special Envoy Witkoff's
Well,
upcoming trip,
Nadia,
if I may.
please, go ahead.
Special Envoy Witkoff's upcoming trip to Russia. How much you guys are hoping to achieve, given the fact that there are reports that Russia is not, prepared to give up their claims other than partial ceasefire?
Well, first of all, the president has noted, of course, that Special Envoy Witkoff will be traveling to Russia this week, so we can confirm that from this podium. What that will entail, I have no details for you.
And as you know, this is happening in front ahead of forthcoming sanctions on Russia. Can you fill us in on?
Well, are you saying that? Are you declaring for the United States government there's going to be more sanctions on Russia? I'm not sure. I would say I would need to hear that from President Trump. When it comes to, clearly the president's not happy with Mr. Putin and Russia, but he remains committed to diplomatic solutions. I would say that we've also seen a remark, perhaps a reflection of possible secondary sanctions regarding the sale of oil. People who are countries that are buying Russian oil. And that has been openly discussed by the president. But when it comes to things that are decided, we would wait for the president to say that.
On that line, do you have any response to Indian foreign minister's statement saying that they are not going to change their position on oil purchase from Russia? And adjacent to that, Ukrainian leadership today announced that they actually flagged India-made parts that they found in Russian drones. Do you have any reaction?
Well, again, I won't speak for what the president would think about those things. We do obviously have Envoy Witkoff going to Russia. We are committed on that end. I will not characterize or remark on another nation's comments about what they will or will not do. I can barely do that here. But I do know that, of course, President Trump understands the entire field. And he has made it very clear he doesn't like what's been happening. He is a man who is a humanitarian. He has spent all these months now getting people to the table, finding a solution. But he's a realist, and when he says something and you can see where he's moving, he's very transparent. That is the voice that you need to hear from. So he is the guiding hand. And when it comes to what Russia is doing and those nations that are facilitating this war on Ukraine, it will be up to President Trump about how to respond. All right? Yes, at the end there.
Tomorrow, August 6th, marks 80 years since the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The U.S. ambassador to Japan will also participate in the event in Hiroshima. Do you have any comment on that? And what is the current administration's basic policy on nuclear weapons? Thank you.
Yes, I do have a remark on that. Thank you, sir. So for tomorrow, 80 years ago, the United States and Japan concluded a devastating war in the Pacific. For 80 years, the United States and Japan, however, have stood shoulder to shoulder to safeguard peace and prosperity in the Pacific. Tomorrow marks a solemn day of reflection and remembrance as we honor the people of Hiroshima and their enduring message of peace and hope. For 80 years, their resilience has inspired the world, and their spirit of reconciliation has strengthened the U.S.-Japan alliance and our shared commitment to peace and prosperity. Today, our two nations stand together as close allies, facing the future with unity and purpose. By embracing the promise of possibility, we have forged a partnership that serves as a beacon of freedom and progress for the world. It is, if I may just add, that it is a perfect example of the nature of what can be accomplished with two nations when we work together, and the nature of friendship, the beauty of Japan, and the fact that we can stand here 80 years later and speak to that. I appreciate. Thanks for being here, sir. Yes,
Thank
Mike.
you, Tammy. On Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, Special Envoy Witkoff at his tour inspection of GHF sites last week. We were initially told when the U.S. came aboard as a financial sponsor of GHF that there be an ongoing review, essentially to determine if the money is being spent in a wise manner. So a month on now, I guess, or a little bit more, can you point, I mean, beyond just the number of meals, and I know you say it's never enough, can you pinpoint down to a more micro level, A, B, and C is working really well, D, E, and F are areas of concern? Can you get into that assessment?
Well, you
at
know,
all?
I really can't. GHF could get into that, but I know the numbers get to be so big, it becomes something maybe that's not of interest, but it's over 1 million meals that have been distributed. I think that matters to the people that have been able to have those meals. And yes, he mentions the fact that it's never enough, because I remind people we don't expect it to be enough. And that's why we work to change the situation. I can refer you, though, also, again, to Special Envoy Witkoff's approach and his attitude, is that the visit was to make that determination about what else needed to happen in a framework that could be enough. And I've noted, of course, the only enough would be in an arena that was not a war zone, and where you could actually build and facilitate something that could serve the people of that region.
Very quickly, President Trump remarked on Sunday evening he wasn't sure if Ambassador Waltz would be a member of the cabinet as the eventual UN ambassador, which was a change because Elise Stefanik was supposed to be. Secretary Rubio have a position as to whether he wants the UN ambassador to be in the cabinet?
Well, I love when you ask me the questions that you know I can't answer. So I'm not going to speak to what the president is thinking or considering regarding the cabinet or what other elements might be involved. Nor will I talk about Secretary Rubio's opinion about what may or may not happen hypothetically. All right. And now to Nadia. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I wanted to press you again on the Gaza plan. The president said clearly and many times that he wants to end wars in the Middle East, and I believe that's the secretary's position.
Yes, that's true.
How does Netanyahu's plan or proposed plan of reoccupying Gaza fits into this vision, considering that many people believe that without American weapons, Israel cannot carry with this war? So you have lots of leverage to advise Prime Minister Netanyahu whether to take this decision or not.
Well, you know, what I do love is when you're in the Oval Office and you're able to ask President Trump a direct question, which you've been able to do, and it's been very impressive. That is a question for the president. I would say, though, that and I'm, again, thrilled to be here with his leadership, in that we've seen him display what his commitment has been, which is to stop the suffering, end the carnage, bring peace for the who wouldn't if you had the wherewithal to do it. Of course, that's what we're doing. I certainly won't speak to what Israel's plans are. There's been many reports. I'm not going to speak to news reports or what another government is planning or not planning. What I do know is that this government, the Trump administration, is focused on this. It's clear this is what they intend to do. He wants this to end. He said that from the beginning, that the actions that we would take, it wouldn't be about months or years, about meeting to have meetings, and that there's resolutions. As a businessman, you've got to have a point where something is developed and produced and done. So I would say that considering we know that the Secretary Rubio, of course, working very closely, and also as the acting NSA with the president in the White House, that we have, I would argue, the best minds in the world dealing with and deciding how to implement this notion that war-torn ravaging and suffering should never be someone's normal. That's what we will see from President Trump, Secretary Rubio, and this entire government as a whole. But we certainly won't comment on hypotheticals or speculating on what that might mean. The good news is you'll hear it right from them in a variety of different formats. And that it's an exciting time to watch this. It's heartbreaking most of the time. It's exciting and hopeful part of the time. And I think we're going to get there.
And Ambassador Huckabee, how do we know that he's speaking his mind as an opinion and when he talks about U.S. policy? Because he reports to the secretary. So as a reporter, how do I know if he's just expressing his opinion about the settlement being part of Israel, and when actually this is a policy, if the president or the secretary did not articulate that?
So we're getting into a little bit of a conspiracy dynamic here.
It's not really.
But here's why there's this podium. have a very particular structure that the president speaks on the tarmacs. He has gaggles. Caroline Leavitt speaks for the approach of the president in the White House. I am here speaking regarding the approach
Alrighty,
as the
Tammy
voice
Bruce
of
there
the State
holding a State Department briefing. We've been listening in there for the last little bit there now. Let's take a live look at the White House. Beautiful day, I should say, in Washington. Looks like it, I don't know, might be a little, it might feel good outside, actually. I'll tell you, when I was in DC for vacation, it was hot. Very, very hot. That will conclude this edition of Brooklyn News Live. It's been a pleasure to be with you all for the last little bit. But for now, I'm Jackson Mitchell signing off. Have a good rest of your day.